Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class. Today, inshallah, we will have a class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Goal number 1, and we will study today grammar from unit number 7, Where Do You Live? This lesson will be presented by me, Mr. Mazen Al-Harbi, and the sign language will be by Mr. Fawaz Al-Aqil. So let's start. So our objectives for today's lesson, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to use the verb live plus the preposition, and also to give direction using prepositions of places, and also to give direction using imperatives for this lesson. So let's start first of all with a quick reminder of our last lesson. Last lesson, we have been introduced to a new word which called neighborhood. What did we say, if you remember, the meaning of neighborhood? Excellent. Yes, we said that in each country there are cities, and in each city there are neighborhoods. And this is what do you mean by neighborhood: a specific area inside the city, a specific area inside the city. And we also, if you remember, we gave a map, and we showed a map of the city of Riyadh, and we said these are the neighborhoods of the city of Riyadh. So as you can see here in those colored boxes, these are the neighborhoods of Riyadh. And we also said now we can learn, or we can say, where do we live? This is the most important question in this unit. Where do you live? Now you can say I live, and you choose your neighborhood because you now know what do we mean by neighborhood. And we also have been introduced to different places, different names of different places. For example, we have learned what do you mean by a convenience store, a subway station, a supermarket, an apartment building, a post office, a restaurant, a park, a bank, a bookstore, pharmacy, health club, and a mall. So these different 12 places, we have learned them from last time, and we said we asked question about whether our neighborhood has those places or not. And we also, as a reminder, we did a very simple exercise, which is a quick check exercise. And here we have a different description of places. And I have asked you to just write the name of place for each description. For example, what do we call a place where we go to eat? Very good. It is restaurant. And what do we call a place where we go to take a walk? Very good. Yes, we said that it is the park. And what do we call a place that has many stores? Very good. Yes, it is the mall. And the place where we go to exercise? Excellent. It is the health club. And finally, what did we call the place that we should go to if we want to buy a book? Very good. Yes, it is the bookstore. So these are the places and its description. Now let's go back to the first question, or the most important question we have in this unit. Where do you live? Yesterday we learned to say where do we live and where exactly our neighborhood is, because we now know what do we mean by neighborhood. So let's see here a couple of examples on how to answer that question specifically. So, where do you live? Here we have two different answers. I live in Jeddah. I live in Jeddah. And Jeddah here is a city. And also here we have I live in Riyadh. Riyadh also a city. And also, we can use the same answer with any neighborhood we would like to choose. So, the idea here is that, and this is our first grammar here for today's lesson, that we should use live plus a preposition according to the answer we face. For example, here we use live followed by a prepositions for what? If we want to use the word, or if we want to use any city or any neighborhood. So we use the word live plus the preposition in if you want to talk about city. So we can say, for example, I live in Jeddah, I live in Riyadh. So we use the preposition in with only cities. And also we can use in not only with cities but also with neighborhoods. Let's see another preposition. Where do you live? And also the example we're going to give now is an answer for this question. I live on the 3rd floor. I live on the 3rd floor. Did you notice something different here? Excellent. Here we used on. Here we used the preposition on. So when can we actually use on? We use on if we want to talk about building. If we want to talk about building. So if I want to talk about city, I live in that city or in that neighborhood, I would use in, preposition in. But if I want to use or talk about a building, I would use on. So I live on the 3rd floor. And here we use on with building. Let's see another example. Where do you live? I live on 1st Avenue. I live on 1st Avenue. Another example. I live on King Abdulaziz Road. I live on King Abdulaziz Road. So as you notice here we're not talking about city, we're not talking about neighborhood, we're not talking about building. Here we are talking about streets. Here we are talking about streets. And as you figured out that we would use on with the streets. We would use the preposition on with streets. So if we want to talk about cities, about neighborhoods, we would use in. And if you want to talk about building or street, we would use on. So to answer this question, where do you live? It depends. If you want to talk about a city or a neighborhood, use in with the verb live. I live in city. And if you want to talk about, or if you want to answer with using a building, use on. I live on the 3rd floor. And if you're not going to use a city or a building and you want to use the name of the street, then also use on. Like this one, I live on 1st Avenue. So here are the 3 prepositions we used with the live. Let's move to the second part of the grammars we have for today. The other part of our grammars for today is the preposition of place. We remember in last unit we talked prepositions of movement, but now it's prepositions of place. And here we're going to introduce you to 6 prepositions. The first one is across from. The second one is between, next to, on, near, and far from. Let's take an example on each preposition. The first one is across from. What exactly we mean by across from? Across from is when you are in the opposite place of something. If there is something that is opposite of you, that is in front of you, you would use across from. For example, the park is across from the school. The park is across from the school. It means that you need to cross the street to go to the park from the school. This is what do you mean by across from. Across from. It means if there is a place which is the opposite on the other place. Let's see the other preposition. Between. So as you can see, here we have three different places. The bank is between the post office and the restaurant. The bank is between the post office and the restaurant. So this is what do you mean by the word between. Between, it means that if something came in the middle, not on the right and not on the left, it is between. And here is the bank between the post office and the restaurant. The other preposition we have, next to. Next to. Let's see this example. The pharmacy is next to the bookstore. The pharmacy is next to the bookstore. Next to, it means side by side. Next to. The other preposition we have, which is on. The bus stop is on the corner. The bus stop is on the corner. So here you see a corner of the street and here is a sign of the bus stop. So for corners we would use on. The bus stop is on the corner. The other example we have is near. The museum is near the hotel. This is the museum, this is the hotel. What is between them is a park, so we won't say it is next because there is a space. We would use near because the distance here is not very far. It is close, so we would use near. The museum is near the hotel. Near the hotel. The last example we have, far from. Far from. The airport is far from town. So here you see, here is the town and way over there is the airport. So the airport is far from town. This is where, what do you mean by far? It's not near, it's not close, it is far from. So here we have been introduced to the 6 prepositions of place. The last part we have for our grammar rules for today is the imperatives. Imperative we use for direction. And we use imperative to give orders. We use imperative to give orders if we want to locate a place. For example, turn left. This sign means turn left. The other sign we have is turn right. So these are like orders. Turn left, go to the left side. Turn right, go to the right side. And also, go straight. Not right and not left, just go straight. The other imperative of direction we use, sometimes in the elevator, we use or we see those buttons. The first one is to go up and the second one is to go down. So these are the imperatives we use to give directions. Now let's move to the first exercise we have for today's lesson. The question says for this exercise, match the questions with the answers. Here on the left we have questions and on the right we have answers. What we need to do is trying to match each question with the appropriate answer. Let's start with reading the questions first. Question number 1 says, is there a restaurant in the mall? Number 2, is the airport far from the city? Number 3, where is the convenience store? Number 4, is the bank open on Friday? Number 5, where do you live? And number 6, is the post office next to the park? So here we have 5 questions. We need to match them with the right answer. Let's start with the first question. Is there a restaurant in the mall? So we have learned before that any question started with is or are, these are what? Very good. These are yes and no question. So we should look for the answers that start with either yes or no. So the answer number A says, my apartment on the second floor. Now, if this is not the answer, no, it is between the bank and the health club. This could be the answer. Or C, no, it isn't, it is closed. This is also could be the answer. D, yes, there is, it's across from the bookstore. This is also could be the answer. And number E, no, it isn't, it is near the city. And the last one is, it is on the corner. So here we have only 4 answers that started with yes or no. So let's see which answer is the closest one to the question number 1. Is there a restaurant in the mall? So which answer would you guess? Very good, yes, it is D. There is, it is across from the bookstore. Now, let's move on to the second question. Is the airport far from the city? The answer would be E. No, it isn't. It is near the city. Number 3. Where is the convenience store? So this is not a yes or no question. This is an information question. Where is the convenience store? So either we would choose A or we would choose F. So which one? Excellent. It is F. It is on the corner of Dade and Main Street. Number 4. Is the bank open on Friday? Is the bank open on Friday? So which one of these is the answer? As you guessed it, it is C. No, it isn't. It is closed. Number 4. Where do you live? So now we still have 2 answers. One is a yes or no answer, and the other one is an information answer. So where do you live? Very good. This would go to the first one, on the second floor, because this is not a yes or no question. And the last answer would be number B, which is the post office is between the bank and the health club. Now let us move to the other question. So now let's turn to page 59. Let's turn and go to page 59. On page 59, you will see a picture. On page 59, you will see a picture, and I want you to have a good look at that picture. I want you to have a good look at that picture, because you're going to have a look at that picture, and we want to complete the sentences with the correct prepositions. So, for example, there is a pharmacy and the bookstore. So what exactly the preposition, if you have a look at that picture, that we should use here? Very good. It is next to. The pharmacy is next to the bookstore. The second one, the bank is blank the supermarket. So what is the preposition we used here? Very good. Yes, it is across from the supermarket. Number 3, the police officer is the bank. The police officer is blank the bank. Very good. It is near or in front of the bank as he stands there. Number 4, there is a bookstore, blank the supermarket and the pharmacy. What is the preposition we used here? Very good. It is between. Between the supermarket and the pharmacy. Number 5, the Spanish restaurant is blank the bank. The Spanish restaurant is blank the bank. So have a look at the Spanish restaurant. What should we use as a preposition in here? Very good. Yes, we would use next to. The Spanish restaurant is next to the bank. The last one, there is an English school, blank the corner. It is blank the second floor. So what preposition we should use here for the first one? Very good. Here we would use on. There is an English school on the corner. and it is plank the second floor. Do you remember what we said about the preposition we use with building? Very good. It is on the second floor. Excellent job, everyone. Now, I want you to open your workbook and turn to page 116, as we will have a very interesting exercise in here. On page 116, you will see a map similar to this one, where here we have different places. We have a subway station, a museum, we have health club, the mall, a hotel, a bank, a restaurant, park, bookstore, supermarket, and pharmacy. You will see on the same page a similar map to this. What I need you to do now is we're going to help a tourist. That tourist is lost and he wants to go to a place. Let's see how can we help that tourist. So look at the map you have and let's continue this conversation. The tourist said, "Excuse me, where is the museum?" Where is the museum? So the tourist is standing here at the bookstore and he wants to go all the way here. So let's try to help him and give him direction. So the first one is already done for you. We would say go straight on Park Avenue to the next corner. Go straight on Park Avenue, this is Park Avenue, to the next corner. After this, turn right at the bank. If you see a bank, just turn right. So he should go straight to Park Avenue, and when he sees a bank, he would turn right. Okay? Now let's continue. Then the museum will be across from the bank. The museum will be, as we can see here, across from the bank. Across from the bank. And it is between the convenience store and the subway station. So now we have helped the tourist to reach his destination. If you want to have more exercises like this, turn on page 116 and 117 and you will see similar exercises to this one. That's it for our lesson today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.